Diamond Matt channel, welcome. Right, this video we are making a little box. I've got a sheet of brass here, I'm going to be making mine in brass. The idea is, this is something I mentioned on the channel before, I want like a neat, simple little box. No fancy hinges, no fancy catches, just a simple box that looks good and works well. This is it was a kind of designed it in my head, thought yeah, that'll work. This is my trial run, works brilliant and looks good and works great. Click shut, easy to open and close, lovely. That's the hinge, look, completely nothing going on there, it's invisible, it's only joined at the sides, that's the secret trick. So there's no like complicated, really difficult to solder and look good hinge going across the back, it's just joined at the sides. And then the front, this one's flat. I'm going to try this one out of this bit of metal, just both sides rounded, so it'll be a nice rounded thing with like no obvious hinge, no obvious catch, invisible hinges and stuff, so it's going to be a nice thing if I can make it successfully. Not entirely sure because it's experimental, first time I've done this design. Not too experienced working in brass, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. And the reason for this box, I'm making a little cigarette case, because why else do you need a little metal box? I don't know. We don't really use them, do we, in modern times? They were more common in the Victorian era. Anyway, so I bought a pack of cigarettes, I've got a cigarette to work to. Obviously the bigger the box, the more it weighs. If you're making a cigarette box for yourself or any box for any reason, just bear in mind in metal, that weighs a bit. If it's something that someone's got to carry around, you don't want it to be too heavy. So I'm thinking 3, maybe 4 cigarettes. I think 3 will look best. I don't know, let's see how it goes. I've got enough metal for whatever I choose. So cigarette, that's going to be used as a guide to make my box the dimensions it needs to be, and I'll get into it after I say thank you to new patrons. Got a few last few days. We got Junior Yan, J.I. Yan, Sarah Zanotti, we got Maverick 107, thank you very much guys. We got Sarah Bannerman Newbold, a great name, Frida Aberg, Mike N, and Laris 333, thank you very much. These are all classic patrons and they get access to all the full instructional guides now. So if you're new to me, for my full instructional guides, I've got like, they're between an hour and 3 hours long, just taking a chunk of metal and then turn it into a cluster ring or a 3-stone ring, like all different collets, different designs, loads of them. They're coming up 40 different videos now, and they go in depth, showing you every step of the process, and I'll explain everything I'm doing, showing clearly what I'm doing, and I just pour all my experience out into these videos, so to really give people as much information as I possibly can. And I try to teach them in a way where you can make what I'm making with your stones, or if you've got different shaped stone or whatever, it should be translatable what I'm teaching and what you're making for exactly the stones you've got. I'm always working to stones. That's a professional jeweler thing. Always got to work to your stone. You're making a thing. You're making diamond mounting is making mounts specific for stone, so it's an important part of doing what I'm teaching. Cool, right, so if you want to become a patron yourself, it's patreon.com/diamondmounter, link in the description. I've got online courses as well, and I hope to see you there. If not, just watch, enjoy, and let's get into it. Okay, so there's my plate. What I'm thinking of doing is making, 2 plates like that, with just one end hooked up, and then going to sit like that. So one's a lid, one's the base, obviously. We need enough width for the cigarette to sit in, and then plus on the side, enough distance to fold up and cover the sides. So let's measure this cigarette. Have a guess. How long do you think a cigarette is? Have a guess in millimeters. I'll tell you now. 84 mil, just call it 85. You want a bit of space with these in there, quite a delicate thing. Obviously you don't want them crushed in there, and you want to be able to take them out as well without damaging them, so they need to get put in easily and get taken out easily, so not shaking around in there, but obviously a bit of space around them. So just call it 85, and the width is difficult to measure it without squashing it. Yeah, call it 8, it's just under 8 it seems. Yeah, 8 by 85 I think will give us space for them to fit in without being squashed. So total, I'm going to anneal this, but while it's hard and rigid, that's going to help me cut it without accidentally bending it. So 8 plus 85 plus 8, 95, 93, sorry. 93, that'll do. Bollocks. Anyway. I'm a professional. So there you go, there's that line. I'll cut that out now. So that's not in the middle, that's to one side, and then I've got enough length to have two pieces with one edge folded down, so when they're flipped over opposite each other, I get the walls both sides. That's what I've done there. Right, so let's just do this side. What I'm planning on doing is scoring this line and cutting into it to make it foldable. But I'm not actually going to fold it up yet. I'm going to do that curve on the ends of the metal first, and then that line is already done, ready to go to help me fold it up, rather than trying to work on it when the ends are like curved up. It's going to be more difficult. So anyway, let's get this going. I'm just going to hack into this metal with less care than I would if I was making a piece of jewellery. So to score this line in, I just want a little kind of groove cut into that to enable the metal to fold up nicely. I'm going to do it with a little cut-off wheel, a little mini grinding disc. Do the job great, but a lot of nasty dust comes off them, so I'm going to put a mask on for this. There you go. Not that pretty, but it'll do the job. I went in like half to 2/3, I reckon. A little bit of guesswork, you don't really know, but you get a sense of it just by seeing that ridge, and you can always check the ends as well, as long as you haven't gone over the edge and made it look deeper than it really is across the middle. Yeah, anyway, aim for half, 2/3, do what you can. Right, so that needs to be, I'll cut it into sections and then I'll anneal it and then we'll bend it up. So thinking about the base, I need to sort of understand the distances I need. That's going to curl up and go over the cigarette, so I want it to kind of go on top really, like a full 180. So that edge is like directly above 180 degrees above the bottom. So that's, tell you what we could do. Tell you what I can do. Draw a little dot on my cigarette. Put it down on that edge. Roll the cigarette until that's there. That's going to be rolled up. So that is my curve to there. Then it goes flat again. Just give me a little bit of danger space, and then from that point it's enough distance for 3 cigarettes. Let me get the others, so just in case you're interested. These are Mevius 6, I think these are Japanese brand. 6 milligrams. That says Taru Nicotine. Nicotine. That's what it's like reading Japanese. Everything's broken down into syllables and you sound ridiculous if you say it out loud. Right, 3. I'm sort of a bit nervous the amount of metal I got. 3, I'm safe. Oh, there's a cat meowing. So they start there. Let's let the cat out. Go on. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Meows to go out and then open the door and just stands there looking at it. Right, so just in case you're watching this video and you think you might want to try yourself, I'll just tell you the measurements. That's what I reckon I'll need to curve over the top of the cigarette, playing it safe. I'll call it 15 mil. And then from that, cigarette sitting on the flat bottom of the, call it a tin. You want them snug, but not like tight, call it 25 mil. 25, so from the end, basically about 40 covers it for 3 cigarettes plus curved over. But then I want to round it both sides, so let's just double that. I forgot what it was. What did I say? 15, 16. Yeah, 16, so 40, 56. And if I get 2 of those. Okay, so as my measurement is quite close to the center line, I'm just going to cut that in half and I'll just curve the ends up and then trim it again after I've definitely got what I need, rather than doing 2 cuts across it now. Right, cutting this in half. Okay, so how do we do this? Don't really know. I'll get it done though. So I've got one of these like dome-in punches, which is 8mm diameter, same as a cigarette. We need to get that somehow and wrap that metal around it, just the end. So I'm going to start it off. This is what I did with that other box. Start off in here and just carefully just keep working it until you get it to the whole length to wrap over it. A little bit tricky, a little bit awkward, but this is the only way I can think of making it happen. Or can I just hold it in the vise? Now I think we're going to have to hammer this first bit, get a curve on this first bit, then I might be able to grip it in the vise somehow or just fold it over, much easier. But let's just battle on and get this first bit of curve right to the end. This is going to be the most difficult part, starting it. As you saw what just happened, I was hammering it and it slipped off the edge. My top tip is to roll it back a little bit, just a touch, hammer it, and then when you've got a little bit of a curve in there, then you can go back and concentrate on the very edge. It's much more suitable. It actually holds in position much easier when there's already a little bit of a curve in there. So come back in a little bit, start hammering, and then move back to the end. So now I've got a curve across the edge of that. That's the maximum curve that's going to allow. It might be just enough to grip it in the vise, and then I can just fold that round. This might be a trick which helps do this much quicker and easier rather than trying to hammer form the whole thing. So I'm going to anneal that again because that would have hardened right up, and I'll try and cheat a little bit. Just fold it over. So with a draw plate. It's working. Working where it's attached to the vise, obviously, not the other half. Okay, so this technique with the vise is good, making progress, but this metal hardens up really quick. Brass is a weird one. I've had experience before. This brass gets used for all sorts of different applications. Like there's marine grade brass, there's brass for like bullet casings, obviously it's going to be really hard. Like stuff that's not meant to tarnish, weatherproof, and stuff that's meant to be heat proof as well, just whatever. There's all sorts of different types of brass, so you don't really know what you're getting when you buy a sheet. Likely the stuff that's just like for decorations, doorknobs or whatever. Anyway, after you anneal it, it goes really soft, but it hardens up so quickly, so I've got to anneal this again just to put a little bit more of a curve on it. Anyway, just working with the metal with what I've got, dealing with it as I need to. But yeah, this technique using the vise is a real good fast forward technique. I recommend doing it, but I might go back to my swage block in a bit just to really neaten up the curve and get it exactly what I want all the way across. So I think that'll do. I've got the full half turnlet. Fits the cigarette snugly. It's pretty straight, a bit of a flat spot on the end. I can tap that out in a sec. But yeah, basically that's what I want. This would be much easier if that was a little bit longer. It's not quite enough length, so that made it a bit more difficult than it should have been. But yeah, basically I successfully curled up the end while keeping the rest of it completely flat. So that's important. So it's a nice box when it's finished. I say completely flat. It's flexed a bit. I did notice when you anneal it, it does bend a little bit. So yeah, watch out for that annealing sheet when you're hammering some of it. It's alright, I can continue with that. So I need to do the same. I'm going to do the same on that one, and then I will have two that go together one way and the other. So I'll get on with that now. Okay, working on the second one. I should have made a video doing this one. Barely 10 minutes to get to this stage, working much faster, just having experience of the first one helps me do the second one. And yesterday I totally undervalued this, putting that piece in there and just having that as something to lean on and hammer against. brilliant. So I can work much faster now. I've got a bit of experience from that first one. I'm leaving the curve slightly more open. See that? This is how my hinge is going to work. Sorry, not the hinge, the catch. It's basically going to be, the length is going to be just so when it closes up, it just sort of plonks on that. That's what holds it closed. So simple. The only trick is getting that the correct distance down. Obviously that's a bit too much. If I close up now, it's going to be impossible to open. So just simply shorten that edge, and it's, anyway, do that by, once it's finished, I'll trim it to make it work correctly. And I may need to solder a little lip on there just so you can actually grip it. Cool, so that's done. So see that? I've got that line that side, that line that side, they're going like that, and so that's that wall folding up that way, and then that wall's going to fold up that side, so that works out nicely. If I start hammering that, I might flex the bit I want to keep flat. I might be better off doing this in the vise again. Right, so yeah, it's not too bad doing that. You are limited to how far you can push it over in the vise because it just kind of can only go so far. So again, holding that out the side of the vise and then squeezed it with my fingers a bit, held it in position, tapped it with a hammer. It's not difficult, it's just a little bit more awkward than that first one. Cool, so I'm doing that again on this piece. I've just got to be a bit more careful with the actual distances to make sure it actually slides over one end nicely, and then that next curve can sort of clip over there. So perhaps this is more difficult because the dimensions of it are much more important. That one's just got to fit the cigarettes. This is the actual lid. Less curving on there, but it does have to, it is quite important, it's exactly the correct distance across. So to get that correct, I'm going to cut that short now. I'll just cut off that straight bit, so that's the base sorted. Well, at that stage anyway, you need to fold the sides up yet. Trying to get to the end before this wears out. Yeah. These little grinding discs, they are really brittle. Most people, when they first start to use them, they just break in their hands. You can barely pick them up without breaking them accidentally. So if you can get one, if you can get the skill to use one and just have it wear out completely without it breaking, you win a prize. What do you get? You get to stop work, go make yourself a cup of tea and have a biscuit. The lid hardly has to curve over at all. Look, that's like half, not even just under half. Because if there's more of a curve on that, you can't open it enough. So an example of that with this one, that's the base I decided with a steep curve. That's curved way too much, don't need anywhere near that. Look, if I try and open it, if that's like locked in with a hinge on the end, it's not going to go past that. It's that edge is pushing into the back of the metal. So it's only going to open up that much if I left it like that. So that's got to be shortened, and then that will allow that to slide right round and open right up. That was a mistake. A little bit too tight, perhaps. in there now. This inside one with the steep curve, that's where the cigarette goes into the back, so that's the hinge. So that outer one, this side, needs to shorten into there, like halfway I said. So I'll just cut that there. So closed, there's no hinge going to show, just that edge is going to move down, so it'll just be invisible the whole time. And then that just needs to go just beyond halfway. I might need to do a bit of experimenting. There might be 1 or 2 cuts to get it right, but I'm imagining cutting it about there, and then with a little step I might solder something on. Maybe solder 2 bits on, one on the bottom, one on the lid. Then you can just sort of twist it, like push one down, one up simultaneously, and just pop it open. This metal's very hard. It might be tricky to get it just right. Like it might be a fine line between too tight and not quite closing nicely. But yeah, there it is. All that hammering, all that shaping, all that measuring, that's basically to get to this stage. Those 2 pieces are really solid together, so if you're wondering how I separated them, 2 pairs of parallel pliers. I always mention on my videos, you've got to have 2 pairs, they just come in useful all the time. Bottom of that one, top of that one, easy. When you're making anything really, shapes in metal, I like to always test things on a metal block. Like same with the collet, so you've got 2 claws on the collet. If one claw's at a wrong angle, it's going to kind of rock like that. Use collets all the time if they've got straight claws. This also is showing me that's not bad. That side's good. This one I just cut, there's a bit of a wonk on it, so that side's up a little bit, so I'm just going to file along it, straighten that out. This one's a little bit twisted, this is worse, it's got a bit of a rattle. But yeah, basically you want these 2 flat, straight pieces. Again, that bit I hammered is good. I think it's just down to a wonky cut on there. That's why it's rattling. So it's good to know these things. It helps you finish things to a higher quality. Make it more likely to have something that works nicely. So shortened them, trimmed them down. Let's see how they fit. That's the base, top of the thing. Seeing that? They're actually not going to sit like that, they're actually going to sit like that. Look. There's that edge, that's going to fold up there, that's going to fold up there. And then when I go to close it, that's a bit severe. The metal is so hard. I mean, that's really closed, isn't it? Oh my god. Do you know what? I might leave it. I may be able to get away with just rounding off that inside edge, and that will help it slip over a little bit more and slip off obviously as well. I'm going to leave it, and if it needs adjusting, fine. But as for now, I think it's okay to move on from that. That's great though, isn't it? Imagine if I can finish the box and everything's just tight and nice as that. This metal is so hard. Come on. I don't know what's going on right now. Oh, fuck. That is a nasty mistake. Saw blade jumps out, it goes back and damages your metalwork. Don't ever do that when you're making something special in platinum or gold. Don't know what's going on with this. There you go. So I just keep going down until I get my blade going in that groove. That'll do. That was more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Right, other side. Next step, anneal it, pull them down flat, and then fold them up. Probably going to have to get a paper disc in there or something, like one of them, or a needle file, whatever you got. Just bring it in a little bit so it can fold up nicely. So before you fold these up, get the ends nice, and then no harm in digging the corner of that into your groove as well. Get that nice and flat, it'll fold up nicer. So try to get the shine on camera. That's nice and flat. That's nice and flat. That's nice and flat. Bringing it down a little bit as well is going to help you help that fold right up to it. I'll hammer that a little bit. That's not actually nice and flat. That's all crinkly. So I'm going to tap that a little bit more. I might even paper that or file that a little bit. So the mating surfaces are suitable for each other. Not one is wobbly and one's flat, one's twisted, one's up, one's down. None of that. You just want two flat surfaces to go together nicely. So no matter how much you filed it or prepared it or whatever, I would say bend it like that, just flat on a block, and then just bend it part of the way and then have a look. If it's starting to look like it's cracking or something, which I suspect this might crack easily because this metal is so hard, anneal it. I'm just going to anneal that anyway because I'm worried about it because the metal's so hard. So here's a good example why you should never make a video of yourself making something in metal that you haven't made before. Because I'm just coming up against things I didn't foresee. I was thinking through the job in my mind, but I didn't foresee it. One example is that one was like the dimensions of my cigarette. So okay, use that to get that curvature right. Wasn't foreseeing that second piece has to go over the top of it, so it's a larger diameter. So my measurements for that sidewall were wrong. They should have been a bit taller to cover that larger diameter one. Doesn't quite go to the edge, look. So that's a balls up. I didn't foresee that opening and closing. Like when that opens, it opens up one side, top is open that side, and then that side, the bottom's open. So that's not ideal either. So really I should have just made it like I made that silver one. I don't know why I didn't do that. Yeah, just have both pieces with a wall. One slightly wider than the bottom one. That would have two walls on it, folds up, and then that one would just be wider again to cover the walls of that one. So a little bit extra width for the lid. Serves me right for trying to be clever and not waste metal by cutting out a sheet like that and then thinking I could just turn it around and do it that way. Doesn't really work. Okay, so that's a bit of a balls up, so I can't continue with it. I can't have finished that big gap there. I'm just going to cut those walls off. The idea works, but my dimensions, my measurements were wrong. So I'm going to have to cut these off. I'll just have to solder a side wall on. At least I get to finish the box then. Poo!